Black magic, black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything black, everything black. Praise black Jesus, play black Moses, give them flowers while they still give black roses. Everything black, everything black, black.
Hi, I'm Faven K, Fox 5 News morning anchor, and today I'll be reading Unspeakable, the Tulsa Race Massacre. Hi, I'm Faven K. I'm the morning anchor at Fox 5 News. I've been here in Las Vegas for about 3 years. I absolutely love getting out in the community, meeting all of you, especially the kids, right? You guys are our future. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here reading for you guys, especially during this Black History Month. You know, Black History Month is so important because we don't know where we're going unless we know where we've been. It's so important to acknowledge those that have come before us, that have made it able for someone that looks like me to be a morning anchor, right? Growing up, I didn't have anyone that looked like me to look up to. So I love Black History Month. I don't care how old I get. Every February, I feel like I learn more and more and more about our culture, our history, and what makes us us. You know, reading is so important because it takes you to places that you physically can't go. You are in another country, you can be in another land, you can be in another time. And it also allows you the ability to learn about things that they're not teaching in schools. Growing up, I did not know about the Tulsa Race Massacre. I didn't learn about it until I was in college. And so being able to have books that speak to kids and you being able to read them will just expand your minds. If you think about the fact that our people had to fight, they had to hide the fact that they knew how to read, that just lets you know the power that literature holds. If you can read a book, you can pretty much teach yourself, learn how to do just about anything. Once upon a time near Tulsa, Oklahoma, prospectors struck it rich in the oil fields. The wealth created jobs, raised buildings, and attracted newcomers from far and wide seeking fortune and a fresh start. Once upon a time in Tulsa, there was a community called Greenwood. Its residents descended from Black Indians, from formerly enslaved people, and from exodusters who moved west in the late 1800s, fleeing the violence and racism of the segregated South. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were some 10,000 people living in a 35 square foot block area. Train tracks divided the Black and white communities. Segregation laws called for separate neighborhoods, schools, phone booths and railroad, and state streetcar coaches. Unfair tests made it hard for Blacks to register to vote, and laws barred marriages across racial lines. So many Black businesses cropped up along a 1-mile stretch of Greenwood Avenue. That educator and business leader, Booker T. Washington, called the area the Negro Wall Street of America. The name later became Black Wall Street, and the community kept thriving. Once upon a time on Black Wall Street, there were dozens of restaurants and grocery stores. There were furriers, a pool hall, a bus system, and an auto shop, nearly 200 businesses in all. There were also several libraries, a hospital, a post office, and a separate school system where some say Black children got a better education than whites. There were two Black-owned newspapers, the Tulsa Star and Oklahoma Sun, and over 20 churches, and 15 Black doctors, including Dr. A.C. Jackson, the most able Black surgeon in the nation. On Detroit Avenue stood grand homes of doctors, lawyers, and prominent businessmen. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were barbershops and beauty salons. Miss Mabel's Little Rose Beauty Salon boomed on Thursdays when maids who worked for white families got coiffed on their day off and strutted in style up and down Greenwood Avenue. The soda fountain at Williams Confectionery was the backdrop for scores of marriage proposals. And there was the luxurious Stratford Hotel, then the largest Black-owned hotel in the nation. Black guests were welcome there, even as they were barred from Tulsa's white hotels. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were two movie theaters, including the 800-seat Black-owned Dreamland. There were even 6 privately owned airplanes. But in 1921, everyone in Tulsa was pleased with the signs of Black wealth, undeniable proof that African Americans could achieve just as much, if not more, than whites. All it took was one elevator ride. One 17-year-old white elevator operator accusing a 19-year-old Black shoeshine man of assault for simmering hatred to boil over. You see, with the accused man in jail, the white-owned Tulsa Tribune newspaper ran a headline, readers to nab him. Fearing the man would be lynched, killed by a mob before his trial, 30 armed Black men rushed downtown to his rescue. At the jail, they faced off with 2,000 armed whites. Then, on May 31st, 1921, one day after Memorial Day, a holiday honoring fallen soldiers, skirmishes between the two groups left 2 Black men and 10 white men dead. But the worst was yet to come. Unable to get to the jailed suspect, the white mob sparked rumors that the Black community planned to attack. Unchecked and in some cases deputized by police, the white mob stormed into Greenwood, looting and burning homes and businesses that Blacks had saved and sacrificed to build. Threatening to shoot, the mob blocked firefighters from putting out the blazes. African American World War I veterans took up arms to defend their families and property, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Families fled with only what they could carry. Once upon a time in Greenwood, up to 300 Black people, including Dr. Jackson, were killed. Hundreds more were injured. More than 8,000 people were left homeless, and hundreds of businesses and other establishments were reduced to ash. You see, the police did nothing to protect the Black community. When the National Guard arrived the next day, all that was left to put out were fires and move thousands of Black residents into camps outside of Tulsa. As their community lay in ruins, Black residents had to carry passes to enter the city. In the days and weeks that followed, some Black Tulsans left and never returned. Others stayed and rebuilt the Greenwood community, only to witness its decline in the 1960s. For decades, survivors did not speak of the terror. 75 years passed before lawmakers launched an investigation to uncover the painful truth about the worst racial attack in the United States history. Police and city officials had plotted with the white mob to destroy the nation's wealthiest Black community. Today, Tulsa's Reconciliation Park remembers victims of the 1921 massacre and recalls the role of African Americans in Oklahoma history. But the park is not just a bronze monument to the past. It is a place to realize the responsibility we all have to reject hatred and violence and to instead choose hope.
So what did you learn from this book, or what is something that you feel people should take away from this book?
You know, I think in general, I knew that, Greenwood was a thriving community, that it was considered Black Wall Street, but just to, even have these illustrations and to see that, there were so many doctors, so many Black lawyers, the most prominent Black doctor in the nation lived here in Tulsa. And in some cases, Black kids were receiving a better education than white kids. I think this is the first time that I've heard something like that, because just didn't happen. So it just goes to show what we're capable of, and to see it put in such, layman's terms and a more kid-friendly, book to show kids that, you're not less than any of your white counterparts or any other race, that you can do absolutely anything that you set your mind to. It was done. It was absolutely done. And it was done during a time when Blacks weren't thriving. So it makes me mad. I think, I get so emotional every time. You can probably tell that. I get so frustrated that we had to endure this simply because we wanted what was best for our families, simply because we just wanted equality. It's not like we were asking for much more. So, even to hear, about the women getting dolled up, the maids on their days off and strutting in style and getting their hair done, that is something that I don't think I've heard prior to this book. So again, why reading is so important. Thank you so much for joining Sawubona Culture's We See You Reading Nights. We'll see you tomorrow.
For you and me.